Hello world, I smell a rat. We're here today, fucking way behind schedule, sorry, to look at Chapter 2 of Trouble in Paradise. And while the hype for this story largely seems to have died down by now, which is a bit too quick if you ask me, the narrative itself is thankfully still going really strong, with this chapter in particular revealing a lot more about Ash's goals, who she was, who she is now, and potentially who she will become by the end of this arc. There's a lot of juicy stuff set up in this chapter. But it also kind of proves to me that the Broken Ghost format wasn't the saving grace we might have hoped it would be, at least when it comes to capturing the community's attention, which is a shame because it does offer far more room for development in itself, but you then do need a bit more of an enticing plot hook or a greater sense of tension to back that up, so you can appeal to a greater audience than just the introspective, character-focused nerds like me. But as this does hugely appeal to character-focused, introspective nerds like me, let's get into it. The One Who Walked Away. They're definitely playing with numbers in the chapter titles again, like they did in Season 6. This doesn't seem like a countdown to me, because it keeps going back and forth between 1 and last chapter was 2, next one has 3 in the title, but also 1, I have a feeling we'll reach 0 by the end of this arc. Again, an opportunity for an image. We talked about this last time. I arrive at the place where I transcended the limits of a human life, which I love is being framed positively by Ash. It's really nice. I expect to feel anger when I set eyes on it. It is a reminder of my weaknesses. Her weaknesses. But I feel nothing. That distance of self and that stunted emotional resonance is definitely going to come up again. It has changed from what it once was. Now they call it the Rift. Rings in the other direction, sister. Maybe you want to try keeping us in the loop. What's the Rift got for us? Gibby's a great choice of a counterpoint to Ash here, I think. What you do is not my concern, so long as you stay out of my way. I have business here. That is all you need to know. Rummaging through her own grave. Again here, this would be a nice opportunity for an image, just like Ash's leg spikes sliding down a slope. Something like that. I know that's asking more people to do more work, but hey, give the community artists more opportunities. And it would just help make this feel a bit more cohesive. Yes, the sounds makes a bit more sense in this chapter, where some of them really didn't last chapter. There's still like a missed opportunity here, I think. There is a community artist on Twitter who has been filling in some of these gaps with sort of mini comic versions of these chapters. They're pretty fantastic. I will put a link to them. I don't want to show their art here without having spoken to them about it. I will at least put a link to their Twitter here so you can go and have a look at how that's presented in itself to see how much it would enhance these chapters. Hey now, you've got your eye out for something. Gibraltar knows a thing or two about searching and finding. I like that he's trying to help. And obviously this guy is, me too. I want to help my best girlfriend, and I think I can. I used to work here with my creators. They're dead now, but they were wonderful people. Again, I like this sort of emotional growth from Pathfinder, that he's able to sort of acknowledge it. Yeah, he feels like he's in that sort of like acceptance period of grief, which is really interesting. I like that sort of a emotional depth to him. The anger I expected finally comes. This is what I was talking about for the introspective character nerds. I like that they're using this narrator framing a bit more in this chapter. That's really nice, especially because Ash is our narrator this chapter. But, as we see, she expects her own anger. Like, she's that analytical that she's even, like, deterministic about her own emotions. But it's nice that she feels emotions. Like, she's so much more complex than she gives off. Which, you know, never mind the plethora of lies that she tells all the time. They are dead because they were fools. They're of little interest to me. My focus is on what remains. And this chapter, I think, does tell us what that is, what she's after. We'll get into that. Oh. But the object I seek was once in that lab. Something of significance. I'm not sure you'll find anything here. Most things didn't survive the explosion. Yes! I didn't even think of this before. He uses the word survive. Yes, that ties into what I was thinking all along. The object I seek was once in that lab. What is the one object that we have seen Ashleigh Reid attached to back in the lab? What is the one significant thing that we have seen her in proximity to that perhaps this story hasn't shown us yet, but in-game, we've definitely seen it? Yes, I'm speaking about the rat. I think Ash is after the rat that she's seen holding in Ash to Ashes for some significant information that she has imbued into it. As far as concerned, that rat has been genetically engineered to survive longer than the average rat. Ashleigh Reid was a scientist experimenting with branthium. She evidently made her own teleportation sword. I'm pretty happy to imagine that she was able to genetically engineer a rat to have an extended lifespan, perhaps even using branthium to do so. We have seen through the comics that the rat was in Ash's proximity leading up to her awakening, and we've seen in-game that she has the rat, but I think that the cinematics that we've seen of her, say, on Stormpoint, are perhaps set after this time. That the story that we're getting, Trouble in Paradise, is in some kind of lead-up to going to Stormpoint, or it at least happens before we go to Stormpoint. This is the story of Ash getting her rat back. If you notice, the rat looks kind of really old. Its fur looks faded and browned, and it potentially could be as old as Ash is. It is the same rat. That's the only object we've seen that has any significance to her, then and now, potentially, if it is the same rat. And again, the word object is really important. Literally, the words they use here are so goddamn important. Survive indicates that it is a thing that would survive. Yes, Pathfinder doesn't mean it like that, but the writers do. You can obviously use survive in terms of a physical location, like buildings and stuff. Sure, but when you use it, normally it means a living thing. But Ash refers to it as an object, which the writers and animators, I think the community manager on Twitter, have all come out and spoken about the point that, no, Ash hasn't named her rat. It is a thing to her. But she keeps it around. There is a suggestion that, again, like I say, she's way more complex than she might seem. She keeps the rat around, perhaps to hold on to a semblance of humanity, to have a sort of companion with her, even if she refuses to name it and refers to it perhaps as a thing rather than an animal or a living being, it rather than he or she or they, right? I think that the words used here, the object I seek, and the fact that we've even seen the rat in games, so we don't expect it to be this. Everything they've done here is subterfuge to make it seem that she's not after the rat at all. I hope that the chapter that comes out today doesn't feature the rat, so that this totally just gets blown out of the water. I am pretty confident that the object Ash seeks in this lab, something of significance that we have seen attached to her in the past and in the present, is her rat. We fought here many times, but I've never found anything from the old lab. Whether Pathfinder would have thought of the rat at all doesn't even matter, because the rat can move. That's another thing that allows it to do what it's doing here, to be an object that can escape people's grasp. It has to be the rat. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I always keep a lookout for my child. I'm really not sure what to do with this whole Sonfinder thing. I kind of don't like the idea. I much preferred Pathfinder's quest ending with Pathfinder not having just another thing to go look out for. I like that it's changing his sort of sense of responsibility in a way. Like, he is maturing. I think that's a really good aspect of it. And I think Ash could obviously have some information about what Sonfinder actually is. But I'm still not really sure what to make of it. It feels to me like still a bit of a cheaper arc to lead him on, to just have him searching for another thing. Ash could obviously be searching for Sonfinder instead of her rat, which would set up a nice new dilemma between them, but they've already got pre-existing dilemma between them anyway, so that seems a little pointless. Sonfinder does work in the same way as the rat, in that obviously they'd be able to move around and make themselves hard to find. You could consider them an object, something that would survive the explosion, etc., etc. So all the wording could still make sense for Sonfinder. I just don't think there's any point introducing them into that conflict. I thought they rounded that out quite nicely at the end of Pathfinder's Quest, which actually is kind of interesting to bring up Pathfinder's Quest, because not only were we referencing a bunch of stuff from Pathfinder's Quest here, and Ash is nicely like dodging all of their suggestions about those moments, but Pathfinder here seems to ultimately be sending Ash on her own mini Pathfinder's Quest, Ash's Quest, which I think is nice, in that she's going to go through the legends and actually get some interaction and try and discover more about herself and the thing that she's after from them. That's cool, that's really interesting, but again, it's nowhere near as enticing a plot hook as the Broken Ghost itself was. Do you know what I mean? Revenant and Loba came in with a very clear tension and conflict there. Horizon and Ash's was very clear, in a sense, but as soon as Ash was awakened, it was just, Ash is awake now, and their relationship is actually way more complicated than it seems. Okay. That doesn't leave you with as like clear of an enticing reason to continue reading. I can see why this hasn't got sort of the hype that the Broken Ghost did, for obvious reasons, right? Less gameplay, slower pacing, character-focused introspection, huge amounts of subterfuge for stuff that might not seem that important right now. Like, yeah, I get why maybe not everybody is as into this as I am, but is that really a problem? This story's for me now. You've had the Broken Ghost, guys. Shut up. This is my time. Although Broken Ghost did a lot for me too. Hopefully next season they'll learn from this again. I'd like to think so. Like, the format offers, again, it's offered so much more in the time frame that we've had. But if nobody's reading it, does that matter? I would be sad if they were waiting patiently for Pathfinder to find them. That's where I'd left off. Cool. Got that right. Never got any of Granddad's stuff back. At least you know why now. And this is a dead end. I am waiting for those two particularly to find out who she is. Because that's, again, something that we've known for ages. Like, Ash is Ashleigh Reid. And the story has given to us the information that at least Horizon knows that Ash is Ashleigh Reid. But how information spreads in the Apex Legends universe feels really weird. It didn't seem like immediately obvious that no one else would know. But it is now very clear that, yeah, nobody else knows, and that finding out is going to be more of a progression as we go forward from the other characters. That's great, but that wasn't like immediately obvious from how all the other media presented itself. I don't think any ends are dead when you turn around and keep going. There's that Pathfinder attitude. That's what I did when I was looking for my creators. Again, he's talking to one of his mothers. Like, I have no need for your optimism, Marvin. Quote of the year, man. Ash is my fucking spirit animal, yo. If you have no other useful information, leave me. I have an objective to complete. Again, deterministic, man. She knows what she wants. Damn. I couldn't find my creators alone. I needed the help of all my friends. And I think they can help you too. But I'm so glad that he's here. Think back to her letter to him from the end of Season 6. He does so much for her that she can't help but appreciate. Sonfinder is proving Mama proud, man. Oh god, there's even the fucking smiley face. That's the one thing that Ashleigh Reid gave him, and it's the core of his personality, and what does that mean for actually who she is at the bottom of it all? Is it just meant to be a mask? Like, the fact that she typed a smiley face into a computer? Like, I mean, you can take that symbolism from it, but is it a sign that her ultimate goal is happiness? That she views superiority and being able to, like, have genuine agency in her own life as the way to be happy? Aww.
Oh.
I hope so. That's cute, man. What he embodies is such, like, an interesting reflection of who Ash seems to be on the inside. God damn it, man. Okay, this actually might need some explanation, I think. Wraith is always finding out new things about the IMC. We know stuff like that anyway. Nat has been looking through their databases. Wattson has been looking through IMC databases. As far as I'm aware, this ties into the Overtime comic series, where there is a briefcase that has been stolen from the Syndicate by the Legends. It has something to do with the QW guy. He's definitely actually involved there, and they're all trying to figure out what is in this briefcase and what importance that would have. The 4th issue hasn't actually released yet, so I don't think we have any real idea as to what that is yet, and I don't know if the 4th issue will, again, actually tell us. I'd be very interested if the rat was in the briefcase, for instance. That would be kind of cool, but Overtime in itself just kind of isn't worth reading, so we'll just take that as some background information. As far as concerned, that's all you need to know. Wattson and Crypto and some others have a briefcase that has some links back to the Syndicate rather than the IMC, as far as concerned. Although we don't know exactly what's in it. The briefcase itself was like electromagnetically shielded, so it's possibly electronic. Is it like another Ash head? Maybe? I don't know. We don't actually know what's in there as of yet, as far as I know. All you need to know for here is that what's being referenced here, some sort of exciting treasure hunt, being taken upon by Wattson going through the IMC databases, most likely has something to do with that weird briefcase. That's all the context you need for there. You might know her as Wattson or Natalie, but I have a special name for her, callback to Pathfinder's quest. She's also the granddaughter of one of my creators, and make your point. Like, this is very in character, but it is also, it felt a little needless, but then that is very in character for Pathfinder. Fine. I guess it's him again trying to call attention back to Pathfinder's quest so people look back to it a bit more. That's kind of an interesting way to look at it. She's also the granddaughter of one of my creators, which Ash is just like, shut up, stop talking about that bitch, I fucking hate that woman. Make your point. She's on some sort of exciting treasure hunt. One of them might know something about your mercenary friend's belongings, if you ask. Does Pathfinder just know? Or is he associating? Because she doesn't say anything, does she? Yeah, the object I seek was once there. She never mentions whose belongings she's looking for. And I'd been wondering about this, but I haven't actually, like, clocked it like that before now. Pathfinder might know. That's really fucking interesting if he does know, and he's still trying to be nice. Because if he remembers who Ashleigh Reid is to him, he actively said they weren't friends. And that means a lot coming from Pathfinder. Make your point, then. Let's keep going. She's on some sort of exciting treasure hunt, the briefcase thing. One of them might know something about your mercenary friend's belongings, if you ask. Sending Ash on her own little Pathfinder's quest. Cute. It'll be a mere coincidence if I manage to glean anything of value from your senseless blathering. Woohoo! Hooray! I think that means I was helpful. High five! This bit is fucking great to me. I just love how condescending Ash is, but how she still, like, appreciates value. That she's there, like, ugh. You didn't do anything, but your information might be useful. Fine. But then how Pathfinder just interprets it as he was actually helpful. He kind of is. And then this. High five. He raises his hand. I do not know what to make of this. Just that bit to me is just fucking incredible. Just the fact of Pathfinder offering her a high five, and it emotionally fucks with her to such an extent that she doesn't know what the fuck to do. That's brilliant. It's also personally a massive Chekhov's gun for the end of this series, when either he will raise his hand again, and she will know what to make of it, and she will reply by actually answering his high five. Maybe they can actually come to terms with each other through this story. That would be really interesting. Do you know what I think's gonna happen? What's gonna be far fucking worse? What's gonna be a really nasty way to leave this off? Ash raises her hand, and Pathfinder can't high five her back, because he's finally learned who she is. Or he's finally properly come to terms with who she is. I think this is a massive Chekhov's gun here that will either develop into, again, showing Ash becoming more empathetic, giving a high five back, or trying to reach out because she realizes how fucking broken she is, and she won't get the empathetic reply that she expected from Pathfinder. That's gonna hurt. Look out for this. Look out for another high five, as far as concerned. So foolishly hopeful. Carrying pieces of my past that I crave to cut away. Again, that smiley face. It's evidently such a core element of who Ashleigh Reid was, that of course she hates it. Pathfinder is like her shadow, or she is his, and they're just almost like destined to constantly be in this sort of like yin-yang relationship with each other. That's really cool, man. I really like how they're exploring that here. You have volunteered your knowledge to me, Marvin. That is adequate. As Pathfinder says in game, she has an interesting way of saying thank you. But she says it. Again, you can't see my face, you can't see the faces I'm pulling to be there like, look, yes, she is far more complex than she really seems on the surface, right? Like, yeah, damn, that's how this chapter sort of brings itself to the conclusion, I say at 75% through. What it shows about Ash, yeah, man, just gives us so much more depth. I fucking love it. And this is an example that builds off what I spoke about in my last video about the chapter, where we had a sound effect that was very clearly Ash walking away, but we have Ash talking about walking away. I leave them, the Marvin's arms still in the air. Their voices follow me. Like, yes, that's so much fucking better. Like, this is what you should be using this bit in conjunction with the sound for. Way, way, way nicer experience as far as concerned. Aww. I guess she doesn't like high fives. There's that Chekhov's gun again, right? Something about her is a bit off, eh? Path again, man. I think Ash is wonderful. What? Oh, man. I have no need for your optimism, Marvin, but it certainly fucking helps. She's searching for something just like me, and that can be hard. But all our friends helped me, and now they can help her. Sorry, I had to remember my Pathfinder voice. Haha, I love to see all my friends becoming friends. He considers Ash a friend. I wonder if that will be a sort of dichotomy that he ends up coming to, that Ashleigh Reid isn't his friend, but Ash is. What the oh wow, that's way more complicated than the other way around. Yes, that's way more complicated for everyone else to adjust to, because they'd probably be there like, no, I mean, Ash is kind of a bitch. It's kind of hot, but but Ashleigh Reid seems actually kind of unfortunate in a way. Like, yeah, I feel a bit more sympathetic for her. Whereas, wow, if Pathfinder were to consider Ash his friend and Ashleigh Reid not, what a weird contrast to Horizon and then to like all the other legends. And okay, I'm looking forward to this developing out even more now. I just really hadn't thought about that like that. See what time gives you? I'm almost glad that I left this like 2 weeks. Sorry, it's been a really busy few weeks. I'm not so sure she wants to make friends, but yeah, Gibby's right, man. Gibby's right, and he is correct. I love that you can read this line multiple like ways as well, in terms of tone. And when I did my reading, I made it very like deterministic, like Ash stating, and he is correct. She does not want to make friends. You could also read it, and he is correct. You can have it much more solemn, and it becomes like an acceptance of herself that she's closing herself off from others. But maybe she wants to? So you can maybe like cross this out and put needs. Do you know? Not so sure she needs to make friends to live. Which maybe she doesn't. She's all about being self-reliant, essentially, right? That's one of the core elements of who Ash is, that she's all about strength of self and how that determinism sort of applies you onto the universe, right? She doesn't need to make friends. But maybe she wants to. Because, like, the word right could have been here instead, right? Correct and right aren't exactly the same thing, do you know? He may be correct in that he is stating the truth. I'm not so sure she wants to make friends. You would be correct to assume that. That is the assumption she wants you to have. But maybe he's not right. Because maybe she does need friends. Do you know? Like, you can read that both sort of ways. Like, yeah. This chapter's a fuck ton for us, man. It surprises me again, even, like, till right now. That I've reached the end. 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Our chapter for today. Again, sorry how late this video is. This feels like a pretty apt analogy for my channel at times. Oh, thanks, Ash. Yes, okay, I'm correct. Shut up. Fine. With that, yeah, I think I've managed to actually cover everything that I wanted to talk about with this chapter. Again, having some time to think about it a bit more has definitely given me probably a bit more to say about this chapter. Not that I'm ever lacking for shit to say. But yeah, having gone through it again this final time, before we get chapter 3 today, it's really reassuring to see how strong of like characterization this chapter does, and how much more depth it gives, particularly Ash, and particularly Pathfinder. Gibby was a nice sort of counterpoint to allow them to bounce off, to sort of help them both sort of face the truth a little bit, trying to help Ash and trying to help Pathfinder see that his optimism may not be correct. Like, yeah, Gibby is more about realistic optimism and maybe sort of hope rather than Pathfinder's sort of optimism, if you will. It's a really interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I'm really impressed by this chapter. I'm going to stop talking about it now. So, with that, thank you for staying with me, friends. I've been Euclidean Vision, the emotional support. Take care of yourselves out there, teammates, and may the glorious light of Beskil shine within you. Bye-bye.